Good morning. It is Friday, September 16th. I'm Jessica Lovell, and welcome into the Morning Medical Update. Coming up today, 100,000 people are currently on the national transplant list waiting for a life-saving kidney. The big ask, a chance at a better quality of life. Is the COVID-19 pandemic officially coming to an end? Infectious disease physician Dr. Shoemaker weighs in and shares the COVID count. And the annual Black Tie Gala benefiting the cancer treatment and the Cancer Center returns this weekend. The changes to this year's Treads and Threads event, that's coming up next on the Morning Medical Update. Welcome in this morning. Hope everybody survived the big Chiefs game last night. I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit this morning, but it is finally Friday, and we're so glad you're here with us on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. It's become his biggest role yet. Actor and native Kansas City man, Erron Jay, has made the rounds in Hollywood. He's appeared in numerous TV shows, movies. Here he is in the show Lucifer. But that all came to a sudden halt during COVID. It wasn't the COVID-19 infection. He needed a kidney, and he needed it fast. Erron is here with us this morning in studio, along with Erron's nephrologist, medical director of kidney transplantation, Dr. Diane Seabrick. Welcome to both of you. So good to see you.
Thank you.
And you guys haven't seen each other. How long has it been since you've seen each other?
A few months.
A few months. So a little reunion
January.
here. Yeah. And we've also got Dr. Tim Schmidt. He's the director of transplantation here at the health system. Hey, Dr. Schmidt, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thank you. All right, we also have Haley Jensen, Director of Transplant Programs for the National Kidney Foundation. Good morning to you, Haley. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yes, fun show today. Lots of good info. And as always, we love getting our audience questions. So please get those sent in to us using the links there on your screen. Well, let's take a live look this morning in Ukraine, where right now it is just after 4 in the morning. We want to take that live shot here this morning. Do we have that? No shot. Okay, we are entering now the 7th month of war with Russia, and in other areas where Russian soldiers have already come through, buildings, homes, schools, heavily damaged or destroyed there, and of course a lack of medical care, as you can imagine. That is where the Kansas City-based Global Care Force is helping to fill that void. Nurse Roxanne Jones is leading the first primary care medical team to head there, and she joins us live from Ukraine this morning. Roxanne, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jessica.
Thank you for being with us. When it comes to medical care, Roxanne, is the situation as dire as what we see portrayed in some of those images? Tell us what you see and what you're learning.
It's as bad or worse than what you're seeing. The medical crisis here is extreme, and sorry.
It's okay.
That was just an air raid going off. I'm okay. But it is dire.
Dire situation there. Can you tell us a little bit about the teams and the team that has gone there? This is the first primary care team. What kind of services are you providing?
We're providing basic medical care, gynecology, obstetrics, emergency medicine. As you can imagine, every specialty is needed.
I would imagine, Roxanne, that just emotionally, it's hard to imagine really what these folks are going through. Are you offering people PTSD care as well?
We are. I would say that's probably one of the biggest needs: anxiety, depression, PTSD. We're seeing sky high blood pressures, blood sugars due to the stress.
So what kind of donations are in need for the Global Care Force? What types of things do you need to continue to do the work you're doing?
I need volunteer medical professionals. I need every specialty. I need RNs. I need EMTs, and I need medications, lots of medications. Some of those we're able to purchase here in Ukraine, actually quite a bit, but we're also needing to bring a lot of medications with us. Your basic ibuprofen, Tylenol, over-the-counter cough and cold medicines, allergy medicines, iron, antibiotics, different things like that you can get at Walmart, Costco, etc.
So if viewers are listening and you want to help, we have a bit.ly link on the screen. It's bit.ly/MMU Ukraine. Roxanne, is that the best way for people to get supplies to you? Or if there is a medical professional out there who can help, what is the best way to get in contact with your team?
If you would go to globalcareforce.org, you can click on any of the team members that are here now and team members that are coming, including myself. I'm bringing a team in every month. I'm going back and forth to the U.S. and then meeting them in Krakow, Poland. But each team member that comes has a link, and you can give to that person, again, including myself. And we are looking for all kinds of donations. As you can imagine, the need for medications is dire. And $5, $10, a bottle of ibuprofen, a bottle of Tylenol, any and every donation helps.
Roxanne, how long are you and the team staying?
Every team is here about 14 days in country, and they leave, and then a new team comes every month.
And I believe you are going to continue to bring us updates from Ukraine as your teams continue to do your work. So we will see you again.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Roxanne Jones, live for us in Ukraine this morning. Roxanne, thank you so much, and please be safe and come home to us safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Actor Erron Jay was living his Hollywood dream until he found out he had stage 4 renal disease. He needed a life-saving kidney transplant. He found the answer to his prayers, where else but through the help of social media. Recognize this guy?
Greetings. I am Olu. Oh, snap!
What about him?
I'm a mechanic. I work on cars, not Spider-Man.
Kansas City native turned Hollywood actor Erron Jay was living the LA dream when an unexpected plot twist cast Erron in a real-life role he never auditioned for.
I went through, the gamut of emotions.
It was April 2020, the beginning of the pandemic, when he received this news from doctors.
Hey, has anyone ever told you your kidneys don't work? And I was like, well, no, why would they tell me that? No. He's like, oh, well, your kidneys don't work.
Hi, Erron. How are you doing today?
Erron was eventually diagnosed with stage 4 renal disease. What Erron thought might be COVID turned out was full-on kidney failure, and he needed a new kidney fast.
Friends and family out of nowhere just started pouring love into me.
Time was not on Erron's side, but a few Hollywood friends were.
Started this campaign, and people like Cedric the Entertainer shared it, and Zendaya, and Lena Waithe, and Yvette Nicole Brown. All my beautiful friends that are celebrities started to share this.
An online search to find a new kidney led him to an old friend, Amy.
It was a roller coaster ride, because then you go through the thought process of, well, who's gonna sacrifice their organ for me?
Amy wasn't a perfect match, but she did match another patient at the Center for Transplantation at the University of Kansas Health System. They became part of what's called a kidney exchange.
I feel blessed, grateful.
Their reconnection ultimately led to 3 people getting a life-saving kidney.
They say that you don't know exactly how bad you feel until you get the new kidney, and I was like, I don't know what that means, but now I do probably feel the best that I felt in the last year and a half of my life.
And now Erron believes in real-life superheroes.
If you've ever wondered how close you could get to being a superhero, this is it. That's the closest you can get, is by being a live donor and donating an organ to save somebody else's life. That's it. That's how important it is. You're a legit superhero.
Erron posted this video updating his condition 1 month out from surgery.
I'm ready to get back to what I was doing, living life and pursuing my dreams. And I know that I can't do that just yet because there is a healing process.
While he continues to heal, he's enjoying a new role.
I got a kind of a second gift of life, and I think the best way to say thank you for that is to do good by it.
He's sharing his story to help raise awareness about organ donation.
I want to help, I want to give back, and I want to help people find the same hope that I was able to find.
I tell you what, nothing's gonna ruin my mood today.
And soon, Erron will find himself back in the limelight on the big screen.
You know what, you should try aspirin.
forever playing the part of kidney transplant recipient
Kidney time.
and grateful man.
This is my faith in humanity. Not that it was ever wavering, but it's definitely stronger now than it ever was.
I'm looking forward to, getting back to the EJ that you know and love.
The EJ we know and love is sitting right here, my friend. Give me some love, because you were sitting in that bed, covered up and just fresh out of surgery, and now you're sitting here front and center on the desk.
All right.
How'd that happen?
You tell me.
All right. How far out are you? How long has it been? Since
it was a year on July 20th.
How are you feeling?
I feel great.
Really?
Yeah.
You said in that piece, you said you never know how bad you feel until you wake up with a new kidney, right?
I mean, and that's what I was told right before I went in. It was like, oh, you don't know how bad you feel. Wait till you wake up. And when I woke up, I was like, oh, this is different.
Oh, like I got a different thing going on in here.
Yeah.
You're officiating a wedding this weekend?
It was moved to next weekend.
Okay, so that's why you're able to see.
That's
Oh,
how I was able to-
they moved the wedding so you could be here with me? I love that.
Exactly.
So you're passing through town. You just came from LA.
Came from LA.
Landed last night and got the
Landed
news of the
last
big Chiefs win. How was that?
That was amazing.
On the plane?
Yes.
Good,
We
good.
all had our jerseys on.
That's a good way to enter into Kansas City, isn't
think
it?
so. I
Right?
think so, yeah.
Touchdown with a nice win.
Yeah, oh, we touched down and then touchdown.
You see what we did there? I like that. So feeling good. Did you ever think you'd be hearing the news that you needed a new kidney and going to social media to find one of your friends and going through all of this, and now you're standing up and going to be officiating someone's wedding? I mean, it's just like a big full circle moment.
It's been an amazing, since I left Kansas City back for LA in February, it's kind of been a roller coaster. This will be my third wedding I've officiated this year, friends and family. I actually get to come home for tomorrow. We're doing this huge event called Sneaker Jam. It's part of this group I'm with called Hype Beast KC. We plan these huge sneaker conventions.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't gonna be able to make that, and so I got to come be with you. I get to go to that tomorrow.
You're making the rounds.
Making the rounds.
So we're going to catch up a little bit more on what you've been up to and how you're doing, and a little bit more of your story. But numbers from the National Kidney Foundation kind of give us a better picture of the kidney transplant situation. Erron was one of 18,000 people to get a kidney transplant and to get one every year. As we mentioned, 100,000 people are waiting for a kidney transplant, and there are only 6,000 living donors available. So you do the math. Dr. Schmidt, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, especially after
Good.
the Chiefs victory last night.
I know. You're going to have to, I think you didn't get as much sleep as I think you normally do. But we're glad you made it today. So according to the National Kidney Foundation, 4,000 people die each year waiting on the list. The idea is to not have to be on the list. So Dr. Schmidt, you've always encouraged people to seek out a living donation, right? It's that big ask. You ask for a lot of things, but asking for someone's organ, that's big. But what are those conversations like when you talk to people about that?
It's hard to, people have trouble asking for help. It's just one of those things that feel like they're going to ask somebody to put themselves in danger for them, and most people just don't want to have other people do that. But if your family and friends want to have you for longer, the best option for you is a living donor, because it statistically lasts years longer than a regular donor. And it also is scheduled. You can plan it. You don't have the anxiety of waiting on the list for a long period of time. You tend to have less damage from dialysis, because you can hopefully get that before you even go on to dialysis. So there are so many reasons to ask for help, and people are usually surprised that there are people that are willing to help if they just ask for it. If you don't know about it, if you don't know people need help, it's hard for them just to, offer help. But when you do ask, it's a surprise how many people are willing to give help for you.
Well, and I've talked to many people who have given that gift of life, and they've said, I didn't have money to give, or I didn't have time to give, but hey, I could give an organ. Sharing the spare. Dr. Seberg, just bringing you in as well. What is that like when you have to have that conversation with someone and you say somebody needs a transplant and it's dialysis? And tell us a little bit about what life is like on dialysis versus doing what Erron did, going out and hitting social media and friends and just asking for the big ask.
I mean, it's a difficult conversation to have. Like, I agree with Tim. It's very hard to ask someone for an organ to, be able to either avoid dialysis or get off dialysis. Jessica, life on dialysis is no life.
Yeah.
And so, these patients have to go to the dialysis center 3 times a week. They have to be stuck with large needles to get their blood filtered, to clean their blood. And then after dialysis, they're quite fatigued. Erron could probably speak better to that than I can because he's actually experienced that.
You were on dialysis? Were you on dialysis?
I was.
For how long?
Just about a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
And some people are on it for years and
Yes,
years.
years.
And years. So you made the decision to go to social media, ask friends. You kind of put together a campaign. And were you surprised when you found people were really willing to help? What was that like, kind of going through that experience?
I was. Dr. Smith hit the nail on the head when he said, it's hard to ask for help. And so for about the first 6 months, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. And then my family, we had a family meeting, and they encouraged me, like, we need to do something. And so I said, well, I don't want to pressure anybody.
Yeah.
So we called it a no pressure campaign. Like, we put that on everything and went to social media pretty hard. I was posting in dialysis. I would sit there and I would make little flyers with my picture on them and what I needed. And then we would post them maybe twice a week. And then I would do YouTube updates and load them up to YouTube and social media. And then I would start sending the flyers to people's inboxes and, sliding in the DMs, as they say, asking for this big ask.
Well, you had a will to live, and your friends wanted you to be here too, right? And they were willing to repost, and then you found your old friend from high school, and it all just came together. It was kind of a magical moment. You're part of what's called a kidney chain here at the health system. Dr. Seabrook, Medical Director of Kidney Transplantation for us. Last year was a record-setting year for the number of kidney transplants. But so does this mean that COVID did not affect kidney transplantation and the health of your patients?
It definitely did affect. We had to regroup and figure out how we were going to attack this problem. But we never stopped transplanting. Our record number year was during the COVID year, the first year of the pandemic. And we did 211 kidney pancreas transplants that year.
And those were living and
We
deceased.
actually held living donors for a while, for a few months, till we figured out what was going on with the COVID situation. Because these are healthy people, we don't want them to get COVID, right?
Right.
But your mortality on dialysis is higher than the mortality from COVID. So it was kind of a logical thing to keep anybody that was on dialysis, keep them listed and transplant them.
They could do that. They could hold on for a few more months. I want to bring in Haley now. You're Director of the Transplant Program for the National Kidney Foundation. Haley, explain the criteria to receive a kidney.
Sure, that's a great question, and ultimately, there isn't really one set of criteria. Every person is different. Every person who needs a kidney should have that conversation with their doctor as soon as they can, as soon as they know their kidney function is getting pretty low, pretty poor, because ultimately the transplant center, through a thorough evaluation process, decides whether or not someone is healthy enough to receive that gift of life, to get through the surgery, to get through all of the hard work of being a recipient. Caring for the new organ can be a lot of work. There's a lot of medications, there's a lot of appointments, but I'm actually a recipient myself as well, and I can tell you that it is completely worth it, but it is a big task. So the transplant center ultimately decides who can move forward in that process and be listed and look for a living donor.
Well, you learn something new every day, Haley. When did you get your kidney? How long ago was that?
It was a while ago at this point. I was a teenager when I received my kidney transplant.
And was it through living donation?
It was not. I had a really hard time finding a living donor, but I was fortunate enough to get a deceased donor kidney fairly quickly. I wasn't on dialysis for too long as someone under 18, so I was extremely fortunate.
And how are you doing today?
Really well. Really, really well. Definitely living a very full and rich life in a way that would have been very, very challenging on dialysis, as others have said.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I asked you I asked you to, I go, hey, text me or email me all the things, what you're up to. And you gave me this big long list. And you said, I'm just trying to do all the things I promised I'd do if I was given another chance at life. Yeah. So things just mean different
Yeah.
things that have different meaning now, right?
They do. Everything does.
Everything does. Dr. Schmidt, this is always a cool part of my job, but take us through a kidney transplant. I've been in that OR with you and Dr. Sean Coomer as you kind of pass the kidney from one room to the next. So it's quite a process. It was an eye-opening experience for me, but watching someone giving the gift of life, and then you're putting this kidney inside. Here it is being rolled over, and then you're putting it inside Erron. And so tell us kind of what it's like in there.
I think the kidney transplant is definitely one of those cases that there's the one person in the OR that doesn't need the operation there today. So the donor is the healthiest person in the hospital that day who doesn't need to be in the operating room, but yet they're giving the gift of life to someone else. So that case is the one where we really make sure everything is as pristine as possible. You know, Dr. Coomer, who does our donors here, has lost all his hair and aged quite a bit more because he stresses so much about these cases, and you really don't want anything to go wrong with that case. And so once that gets going and we feel everything is safe, we bring the recipient back, and I'll prepare the recipient, get the blood vessels ready to go, and then once Dr. Coomer is ready to pull the kidney out, I'll go to the room, get the kidney out and flush it so we cool it down, stop the metabolism and prepare it for transplant, take it to the next room and plug it in, and about 99% of the time the kidney pinks up right away and even starts making urine right on the table. And it's always, I don't ever get used to that. I've been doing transplant for 20 years, and when the kidney starts making urine, it's still fantastic. And we know that it's one of those things that we are helping people, and we're not helping the people. We are just kind of loading the trucks. The helper is the donor. We do the procedure, and then the recipient gets kind of a new lease on life. It's great.
Yeah, you plug it in and it's a success. I would imagine that never getting old. Dr. Schmidt, I know you actually are heading off to the OR here in a few moments, so go ahead and bow out when you need to. We always appreciate your insight and all you do here at the health system, so thank you, and have a great Friday.
Oh, thank you.
Dr. Seabrook, so what is the difference? We said renal disease, we say kidney disease, failure. What is that and who's at risk of it?
So renal disease and kidney disease are the same thing.
Okay.
Renal disease is just an older term that we used to use for people with kidney problems, but now we just call it kidney disease. The most common cause for kidney disease, especially in the United States, is diabetes, and hypertension would be probably second to that. Both of those things are modifiable, right? So if people can control their diabetes or control their blood pressure, they can actually avoid kidney disease.
So would someone like Erron not feel anything wrong? Isn't renal failure like a real slow burn? It takes a long time to get where you would need one, so you don't really notice how bad you feel?
It depends on the disease.
Okay.
So some disease progress very slowly, other diseses progress very rapidly.
So Erron, did you have any signs, symptoms? You thought you had COVID. You're like, I don't feel great.
I thought it was COVID, yeah.
People thought everything was COVID.
Everything was COVID. Yeah.
Everything was COVID. You learned you needed a new kidney. That was quite a surprise. And we know a lot of people need new kidneys. So this weekend, a big event here in the Kansas City area hopes to help a large number of people in need of a kidney transplant. So I want to bring Haley back in to talk about the Big Ask, Big Give. This is a national campaign. We're doing one right here in our area. But tell us what it's about. What is hoped to be accomplished?
Yeah, so I would say, overall big picture is to really support people in this process of finding a living donor. As everyone has said, it's really tough to make that ask. So we will be focusing during this event on sharing your story because, as has been mentioned, just letting people know what's going on, the journey and the difficulty of kidney disease and what that experience looks like. A lot of people are often willing to step forward and help, but you have to be willing to share that information. So that'll be the focus of this event, is how do you talk about what's going on? Who should you talk to? What are some strategies that can include, social media, that can include speaking to groups that you're a part of? Again, just letting people know what's going on, and giving people the opportunity, no pressure, to think about living donation as an option. And so at this event, there'll be a lot of opportunities to learn tools and strategies, to talk to some transplant experts, and also to hear directly from patients who've been through this experience.
Well, I would imagine, Haley, there's a lot of people who would love to do this. They just don't even realize they could do it. Their eyes have not been open to the option, and so much education is going on. Wow, I can do that. I can help someone I don't know. I can help someone I do know. So I think it's got to just be a real eye-opening experience for so many people, and then lives that are saved on top of it, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to the COVID count. We've got Dr. Matt Shoemaker in here on this Friday. So glad to see you today. You're interim co-director of the Division of Infectious Disease. How are you?
Good. Good morning, Jessica.
Good to see you. Did you watch that Chiefs game last night?
I have to admit I didn't.
Okay, I didn't either. I can't get engaged because then my adrenaline is going too much and I can't be in here.
I can't stay up that late.
Can't stay up that. I'm with you, man. I get it. So we get to hear all the good news when we wake up in the morning. Let's check in with, you got the COVID count?
Yeah, here at the KC campus, we have 50 cases, 26 active, 6 in the ICU, 2 on the ventilator, and 24 recovering.
All right, we got a couple of headlines I want to get to and just get your thoughts. The World Health Organization says it appears that the end of this COVID pandemic is in sight. When you hear that, what was your reaction, and what does it really mean to you when you hear something like that?
So I think it's mostly guarded optimism. We just have to put it in perspective. There have been 600 million infections and 6.5 million deaths worldwide. And although worldwide and in the U.S. the trend is improving, mostly because of vaccine rollouts, we still are seeing 350 deaths per day in the United States and over 4,000 hospitalizations per day. So for that downslope to continue, we have to continue to push out the vaccines and get people vaccinated. Only half of the population in the United States has received their first booster. So we have a lot of room to go, and now we have a new bivalent vaccine that will take care of some of the Omicron variants that's available.
Dr. Shoemaker, a couple of questions from our audience. So Jake wants to know, he read that a new study found that older adults who have had COVID, that there was a higher risk of getting Alzheimer's. Have you heard of this, or what do you know of that?
So yeah, that was a study published in Lancet Psychiatry. They looked at 1.3 million patients with COVID and then matched them up to a similar number of patients with respiratory illnesses that weren't COVID and then followed them over a couple years. And although there was a signal for dementia and other chronic psychiatric problems, it's hard to know what that makes over a 3-year period. It's something that really, with something like Alzheimer's, you'd need to follow for probably decades to know, is this really a causation effect or not?
Max said that he read somewhere that COVID gives you an increased risk of brain disorders. I guess that would be would that be Alzheimer's?
It kind of relates to this, but there are other neuropsychiatric disorders, particularly depression, that we see. But most of the patients with post-COVID depression, it resolves within a few months.
Dr. Shoemaker, thanks so much. Let's get to some questions from our viewers, shall we? Catherine wants to know, how is a kidney chain developed? Dr. Seabrick, I mean, it's like a dance that happens when you're trying to match people up, and you were right smack dab in the middle of one. So tell us a little bit how that coordination goes.
It's pretty complicated.
Yes.
So, people come in, recipients come in with a prospective donor. A lot of times they don't match blood type, and so then they would go into our paired exchange program for kidney transplantation. And then it's all based on blood type and HLA matching. We also look at recipient size. So, like for instance, if a woman gives a kidney to a tall man, it won't work as well.
Right.
So we look at size mismatch.
Right.
So all those factors go in to developing a chain. So it's not like something that happens overnight. It usually takes quite many discussions before we can actually develop a chain.
You don't just get to bring a donor to the table, because Erron, you brought your donor, your friend, to the table. Was she did she go to someone else and you got somebody else?
Actually, I didn't bring her to the table. She brought herself
to the table. Okay, I will say that.
Point.
That is a good point. Thank you. I stand corrected there.
She was actually a match for me. Amy was my match, right?
And, I think so. Yeah, I have to look back.
But I think it was the size differential.
Yes.
Because she's like maybe 5 feet tall.
Yeah. I saw a picture of you too. Quite a big difference. So that's the whole idea of the chain. If we explain it, is that you have a donor. It may not match you, but it may match somebody else. So then you might get somebody else's donor.
And
correct?
Correct. And then we have some patients whose donors come in and they're willing to be in the paired exchange even though they match the recipient, because we can actually do more transplants that way if they go into the paired donation.
Gotcha.
And so more people can benefit from kidney transplantation. So.
Fantastic. Okay, this is an important thing, and Dr. Schmidt touched on it earlier. Isaac wants to know, does the donor often need to go on dialysis due to only having one kidney? I know that answer, and that is no, correct? Because you do make sure that they have healthy kidneys,
That's
right?
correct.
Before they would ever be a donor.
That's absolutely correct. And we put them through very rigorous testing.
Yeah.
The lifetime risk of end-stage renal disease being a donor is 90 in 10,000.
Okay.
Where in the general population it's 326 per 10,000. So it's very rare for a donor to end up with kidney disease.
Because you're doing that deep testing.
yes.
I mean, you're not going to go with somebody who may have any risk of having any sort of kidney
That's
failure
correct.
down the road.
There's a lot of hurdles they have to jump through to become a donor.
Gotcha. Yen Liang wants to know, are there any common limitations for kidney donations in the U.S. for donors and receivers? So limitations, anything that would keep somebody from being a donor, or anybody who couldn't receive one? Would a patient ever be in a position where they just can't receive a new kidney?
So back to the donor, the living donors, they have to be healthy. They can't have diabetes, they can't have high blood pressure. Some patients are healthy, but their anatomy of their kidneys is just too complicated to take a kidney out safely, so they can't donate. But they basically have to be in good health. And we test all those parameters that we can possibly test for to make sure that they are in good health to donate a kidney. The recipients, I would think that the largest factor that rules out recipients is if they have inoperable coronary artery disease, heart disease, because you need a heart for the kidney transplant to work, right? You need a good heart function for the kidney transplant to work. And so I would think that would be the biggest limitation on a recipient.
Haley, I have a question for you. Donna is asking, and you may have mentioned it earlier, but she just jumped on. How can someone register to be a kidney donor?
A great question. So the one that people know the most about is if you want to donate a kidney after you die, and that, of course, you can do through your local DMV or through a Donate Life America site. But what we're talking about today is living donation. So if you want to give a kidney now, if you want to think about donating sharing your spare, you can do that by getting in touch with a transplant center. You can also visit our website. We have a lot of information about what the donor process is like, how to get started. As we mentioned, it's a very thorough process that you go through when you're considering donating to make sure that you're healthy, you feel ready to donate, that you're kind of emotionally ready for that. It's a huge gift. It's a huge opportunity. So definitely recommend learning a little bit more about it and then taking the next step. I can't say enough about, the gift that this is and the fact that I got my life back with a transplant. So definitely worth looking into.
Absolutely. Erron, I'm sure you agree. Can't say enough, but I want you to say what you've been doing because you really made this a mission of yours. You're out there living that LA dream, and then this halt in your life happens, and now you've kind of turned into this mission of talking about kidneys. Who knew you'd go from acting to talking about kidneys?
All right. Well, I still do both.
Absolutely. I know you've been doing auditions.
Renaissance man.
Yes.
No, it's becoming an advocate. I feel like anyone that goes through something as traumatic as this, you automatically want to advocate for it. So no one else has to go through the journey or maybe make it easier for other people. So I do a lot of peer-to-peer mentoring. One of my acting mentees who needs a kidney is getting a kidney in January. A close friend of mine, I didn't know anybody who needed a kidney before me.
Right.
And now there's so many people in my life, close in my life. But another close friend of mine is scheduled for October 12th at Nebraska.
Nice.
And so that's been good. And then I do a lot of advocacy with through Instagram through a group called Team Be More. And you can reach out to us. It's just Team Be More. And we can connect you also to the National Kidney Foundation as well. And we try to help the search to help people find live donors.
That's got to be really rewarding for you.
Yeah, it is.
To watch this. How many? What's been going on in LA though? You've been doing some auditions.
I just started auditioning. I'm actually in talks, hopefully, to come back to Kansas City to do a play at the KC Rep next year.
Nice, I'll be there.
That'd be awesome. And just living life one day at a time and enjoying the sun out there. Yeah. It's been really hot lately, though.
It has, but it slows you down a little bit, doesn't it? Not physically, but just emotionally and mentally. You slow down and start to take life in differently, huh?
I call it my cheat code. I met a guy at the airport last night, and he was like, "You're really patient." Like I didn't know this guy, and he just observed that, and I was like, "Well, I have this cheat code. Like I went through something really traumatic a year ago, and after getting a kidney, is like nothing else, compares to, that journey, that battle. So anything else is trivial."
Cheat code. I'm stealing that one.
Go for it.
I'm doing it. Juan wants to know, Dr. Seabrick, how do you prevent renal failure? Is that something, is it passed on through family? Is there something you can do health-wise to make sure you stay out of that lane?
Well, like I said, in the United States, diabetes and hypertension are the most common causes for kidney disease, and those are both modifiable. If you control your blood pressure, you can prevent kidney disease. If you control your blood sugar, you can prevent kidney disease. Some kidney disease are hereditary, and there are some blood pressure medications that can slow the progression of kidney disease. I think the greatest thing someone can do with kidney disease is to see a nephrologist, a kidney doctor. Many times we get patients when it's too late to do anything. They're referred to as too late. So I would encourage you, if you have kidney disease, to seek out seeing a nephrologist or a kidney physician.
Have you heard, one wants to know, is there a relation between pesticides and chronic renal failure?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Dr. Shoemaker, I'm coming around to you. Okay, so Yan Liang wants to know, I have been fully vaccinated, got one booster, and tested positive for COVID a couple months ago. I have cerebral palsy. Would you recommend that I wait for the new bivalent vaccine?
I would not wait. I would go ahead and get it.
I've never heard any of you say to wait for anything,
no,
right?
I mean, I think, especially because we know that the first generation of vaccines didn't provide as good a protection against the variants as the bivalent. So I would definitely move forward with that. The other thing, is influenza. We're getting close to influenza season. We know data coming out of Australia shows that they've had a pretty severe influenza season this year. So in addition to the bivalent COVID vaccine, I would make sure you get your seasonal influenza vaccination.
And last question I'm going to give to you also. Taylor wants to know, someone told me that Denmark has stopped COVID boosters for those under the age of 50. Is this true, if you've heard it, or could it be true? And can you speak to why that would be happening?
I have not heard that.
Okay.
That's something I'd need to look into.
Okay. We'll look into it, find out. Yeah. We get questions like that all the time. People read things all over, so we got to kind of sift through that. But I do want to get to some final thoughts from everyone. And Haley, I want to start with you. What do you want us to know? Again, thank you so much for sharing your story. I didn't know that we had 2 kidney recipients on the show today, so that makes it extra special. So thank you for that. And just what do you want us to know?
I think the biggest thing to hear from all this, from the whole conversation, is really that, kidney disease is something that if you're at risk and you want to learn more, obviously the National Kidney Foundation is a great resource. Your healthcare team is a great resource. And if you are sick enough to need a kidney, living donation is a great option. If your loved ones or anyone you know is struggling with kidney disease, look into it. Think about it. It's not for everyone. Not everyone can or should be a living donor, but it's a huge opportunity to give life to others.
Well said. Ask lots of questions. Find out if it's for you. Dr. Seabrick, I want your final thoughts, but I do want to sneak in a question from Catherine. Would a person who does not have diabetes but has a family history of diabetes be eligible to donate?
Yes, they would.
Okay.
We do oral glucose tolerance tests to see if they have glucose intolerance as part of the workup for kidney donation, and that would give us a good idea whether or not they're at risk for kidney to get diabetes.
So get tested. Don't just assume and count yourself out until we know, right?
Absolutely.
So final thoughts from you. What should we know?
I think, what people need to know is living donation is far superior to deceased kidney donation. They have less rejection, the organ functions right away. People can avoid dialysis, which actually improves graft survival if you can avoid dialysis, believe it or not. So I think I need to impress upon the public that please consider living donation if you have a family member or friend with kidney disease.
What did you call it, Erron? I want your final thoughts. What is it? The cheat? What?
The cheat code.
Cheat code. I'm writing that down. Okay. I'm going to coin that. Okay. Final thoughts from you. I'm so glad you're here today. Yeah. Thank you for hustling in and being with us. And just what's your message to the public about just taking life day by day and taking care of you?
I mean, life is literally one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. You never know. This could happen to anybody. Anything could happen to anybody at any given time. So I just urge everyone to enjoy life as it comes and tackle obstacles as they come and overcome them as they come. I always tell people, when tough times arise, you got to think about, I'm here to have a tough time. Mm-hmm. Some people aren't here to have those tough times. And you've had tough times in the past, and you made it past those, and another one's here, and you'll make it past this, and then you'll make it past the next one. and you just keep pushing.
Keep pushing. Thank you, my friend. Good to
Thank
see
you.
you. I'll see you soon. Dr. Shoemaker, wrap us up this morning. Just final thoughts as we start a new week.
I'm kind of on a vaccine roll. So if anybody out there feels like they're at risk for monkeypox, please check the KU website. You can call. We can get you in and get you scheduled for a vaccine.
Great. Thank you for nailing that point for sure. Get out there, get vaccinated. Thanks to all of our guests today. Well, dressing to the nines. Tomorrow is the annual Treads and Threads Gala benefiting the University of Kansas Cancer Center. For the first time, it will be held smack dab between Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadiums. Such a cool location. The event has raised more than $15 million to expand and improve cancer care at the Cancer Center. Here's a sneak peek of what you could expect.
What are you doing?
Hey, Bob, how you doing, man? Well, I'm picking out my tie. It's the 20th anniversary of Treads and Threads. Excited to host again this year, and I want to look good, man. I want the right checkered flag. We're all back together again this year, too, which is pretty cool, right? So what do you think? Skinny tie, bow tie, skinny tie?
Or this tie.
Whoa.
Or this tie,
Hey,
John.
Tammy.
We're not at the Speedway.
Wait a minute. It's Treads and Threads, and we're not at Kansas Speedway?
Nope, we had a scheduling conflict this year, John, and so we're going to be out at Truman Sports Complex between Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium.
Fantastic. Still food, though, right?
Yep, and drinks.
And
There's
entertainment?
Still entertainment.
All right.
Alabama's the featured band. It'll be great.
Emerald City, back again, and guess what? Those shoes are not going to cut it.
And these legs won't cut it either. Better take some dance lessons. So it's same great premier party with a purpose.
Of course it's a party with a purpose. Proceeds go to our Proton Center.
And Bud, it's this one.
No, it's this tie, John.
Oh, you too? Now it's another tough choice here, but an easy one for you. Join me Saturday, September 17th, Truman Sports Complex between the stadiums, the 20th anniversary of Treads and Threads. Parking's easy. Event begins at 6.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Don't forget you can catch our updates anytime by logging onto Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Go out, make it a great weekend, rest up. We know you need it after last night's game, and we'll see you back here Monday at 8 a.m. Coming up Monday on the Morning Medical Update, the FDA approves another immunotherapy to fight cancer.
I'm much happier when I'm looking at this in the rearview mirror than I do right now.
I'm Jessica Lovell, Monday at 8. We meet the first patients to receive this novel therapy to treat their multiple myeloma. Join us on these social media channels.
Subscribe to our Morning Medical Update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now, everywhere podcasts are available.